Thank you for watching our video. Please give us a big like, subscribe to our channel for new videos every day with amazing cars. Leave us your opinion in the comment section on the video. Thank you.
A great deal of care has gone into creating and maintaining this Toyota CHR tuned, a one-off, race-tuned special first exhibited at the 2017 SEMA show. Multicolored paint marks are on almost every bolt head, and there's a log of cylinder leak down test results written atop the thick, aluminum radiator. Tastefully modified body panels fit snugly, unsightly electronic components are tucked away, and the welds on the 8-point roll cage are perfect. This attention to detail ensured a successful SEMA debut, but don't confuse this for a lifeless concept car. Highs. Nothing like a stock CHR, loads of power, sharp steering. Low. A short-lived experience, down a couple hundred horsepower from its potential. We're the guys that take on the projects that other people won't, says three-time national road racing champion Dan Gardner, who actually got his start as a car and driver road warrior and now runs DG-Spec, the group that built the CHR tuned. It's the latest in a run of specials that Toyota commissioned from the company that also includes a track-worthy Sienna minivan. What we did here isn't putting lipstick on a pig or polishing a turd, 'cause you can easily say that if you're cynical, Gardner explains. We get stock vehicles and figure out the best characteristics that the chief engineer built into the car. And then we amplify. The deputy chief engineer for the CHR, Hiro Koba, is a racing nut who celebrates Toyota's concept of wakudoki, which means heart-pumping excitement. Koba insisted that the CHR, which stands for Coupe High Rider, have a stable chassis, balanced steering, and be dialed in on the Nürburgring. The more you steer it, it turns exactly that amount more, says Gardner of the stock CHR. The more you push on the brake pedal, it brakes exactly. It's not overboosted, it's responsive. We find his characterization fair but overstated when we drive a standard CHR around a short road course at Willow Springs International Raceway in Rosamond, California. The CHR is well damped and fun enough to toss around at speed, sure, but it's meek engine and moaning CVT are turn-offs that had us calling it okayish by default in our test report of the stock model. We do a few laps, head back to the pits, and ask Gardner to tell us more about the R-tuned and walk us through the build, which he says required more than 10,000 hours of labor. Setting the bar really high. Koba didn't know how far we could take it, but we set the bar at supercar performance, says Gardner. It's a target that Toyota announced at SEMA had been achieved by lapping the long course at Willow Springs in 1:25.22, which is quicker than serious machinery such as a Nissan GT-R Nismo and a McLaren 650S Spider, although well off the pace of a McLaren 720S or a Lamborghini Huracan Performant. We went simple everywhere we could, and then the things that were complicated, we took them in as we had to, system by system. Gardner and his team quickly realized they couldn't make do with the stock 2.0-liter inline-4 and continuously variable automatic transmission, so they swapped in a 2.4-liter inline-4, Toyota's Tuasfe, and a 5-speed manual, Toyota E-Series, positioning the engine and gearbox as far back and as low as possible. It's still a front-wheel drive vehicle, though, like every CHR Toyota sells in America. The team tested 6 different turbocharger setups and settled on a unit from Garrett that routinely produces 23.0 pounds per square inch of boost, fed by a 4-inch intake. At full bore on racing fuel, the CHR tuned makes 600 horsepower and puts down 550 pounds-to-foot of torque, we're told. We won't get to experience all that output, but that's getting ahead of our story here. DG-Spec swapped the engine internals for forged and polished aftermarket parts and cryogenically treated the transmission's cogs and gears. The CHR tuned has 3-way adjustable suspension by racing supplier Motion Control, which can be tuned for rebound and low and high-speed compression control. Toyo Proxes are R tires, size 275/35 R18, sit at all 4 corners. Brembo developed a pair of 4-piston monoblock calipers for the front brakes, and a no Giken Super Lock limited slip differential eliminates the possibility of a one-tire fire. The CHR tuned weighs about 3,000 pounds, 340 pounds less than the stock CHR, says Toyota, and barely resembles the pseudo-coupe it used to be. Overcoming hurdles. Its transformation didn't come easily, mind you. Who could have guessed clearance issues in the pedal box would require DG-Spec to raise the car's floor 2 inches? And when you replace the bulky exhaust with a 3-inch catback system, you don't expect issues. We didn't predict how much airflow would go up into the rear bumper cover when we went to a small, transversely mounted Burns muffler, says Gardner. We introduced all this void area. It wasn't a problem until the car went 150 miles per hour. At that point, we melted the whole freaking thing off. Gardner and his team also had problems with the massive rear wing, which is mounted to the CHR's hatch. It had little lateral rigidity and swayed in the wind, so DG-Spec affixed cross supports to firm up the structure. Then the hatch itself started to crack, so the team welded and installed some impressive bracing to offset the pressure. Complementing the wing is an adjustable carbon fiber front splitter that helps the CHR tune produce about 300 pounds of downforce at 120 miles per hour and about 400 pounds at 150 miles per hour, Gardner says. You'd not run into these issues if you settled for merely matching the performance of a 215 horsepower Nissan Juke Nismo RS, but all of these headaches emerged because someone at Toyota thought that this CHR should perform on par with a Nissan GTR. Seriously. When we walk into the paddock of Big Willow, there's a 2017 GTR sitting beside the CHR tuned. It's one of the cars the little Toyota supposedly outpaced on this track. We think, well, this day got a whole lot better, until we're told we'll do only one lap in each car, and not even a full lap, just pit out to pit in. We're also told that a liquid-filled bearing on the CHR overheated and it threw a belt, so it's not in its GTR beating state of tune. This is not a problem we knew about, not even a whisper about it, says Gardner. This morning I drove it 3 laps and it was okay. But we're going to start you out with one lap at a time and see how it goes from there. Flogging it, briefly. We climb into the CHR tuned with a babysitting racing driver in the Corbu seat next to us. Boost is choked back to 8.0 pounds per square inch, so the CHR is making a claimed 350 horsepower and 450 pounds-to-foot of torque. Still, and unsurprisingly, the car feels nothing like stock. From the driver's seat, only 2 things remind you this is a CHR, its high perch and its ugly steering wheel. As we take off, our passenger begins a lecture on smooth, gentle shifts and starts rambling about racing theory. We're so distracted by him that we barely notice our lap has come to an end, leaving us absolutely unsatisfied. We dejectedly walk over to the GTR, which soon has us smiling again. Even still, it's not enough. We tell Gardner we need another go at the CHR tuned, and the Toyota team agrees on one more lap. This time we push much harder on the car, which exudes confidence as it transitions between turns and wiggles under hard braking. The steering is wickedly sharp, with absolutely no slack in the system. Power is linear, predictable, and potent, and soon we no longer care that the car is down 250 horses from its potential. It's a race car through and through, and as such we're not going to learn much without lapping it. And again, before we know it, our time with the CHR tuned is over. Gardner asks what we think. We say from what we can tell it seems like a race car, although it's not fully sorted, clearly. Then we ask, so how'd you end up at SEMA anyway? Gardner says the idea of debuting at SEMA crossed his mind only 45 days before the annual Las Vegas show. You've got the guys who are building hot rods and show cars with the paint still drying, and then you've got the guys building race cars that are engineered well and go and do what they're supposed to do. I figured, we are the race guys. We're the engineers. We accomplished the mission and did what we set out to do. So, what the hell?
Thank you for watching our video. Please give us a big like, subscribe to our channel for new videos every day with amazing cars. Leave us your opinion in the comment section on the video. Thank you.